Hey guys, it's another Friday. We did it again. It's been a great day, and we're just sitting here talking with Chef. You want to go Carlo?
Yeah.
You want to do what you just want to go with?
Yeah.
This one's really going to be fun because I'm going to tell you something you didn't know.
Okay.
Because we were talking about launching and getting this get going. One of the PR marketing girls, I think, or one of the writers that we were talking to, somebody said, "You got to get a hold of this guy. Like this is hot stuff going on. This is like Food and Wine magazine. Like this is all the things. It's like this is gonna be the thing, you know." And it was
Who's
like,
that guy?
Yeah,
Who are you talking about?
Yeah, you know. I'm like, no, they're all over Portland right now.
Yeah,
we're hot stuff in Portland. It's everywhere. And we could never quite make the connection. So when Dean brought this up, I'm just like, yes, we've been needing to do that because, you know, going through the list of the names we just threw around town of our connected friendships, it's just like, yeah, this is a good thing. And it's awesome because, you know, not just your background, which we're going to dig into in a little bit, but what you've done for the city and bringing that attention and, you know, that kind of thing of like sharing that Portland story, but also that family and that your background and all that.
Yeah.
So, anywho, this is a special one. It took us a year.
We're here.
As we are, as we're doing this, Wednesday of next week will be the 1 year anniversary. Like that magazine goes to the printer now here in Portland as well. So 1 year of us having this out.
Congratulations.
So
Thank you.
you know, it's been
ride.
fun and cool. So this is kind of a celebratory one.
It's a nice little journey for all of us.
For all of us.
We made it.
We did it. Woo! And appreciate the things you said about, you know, having the mag back, and
Yeah.
you've been working throughout the country, and you know, I'm like, but so here we are doing a very, 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 very cool one, and yeah, let's just talk about stuff.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
fire away. What do you want to know?
You know, like I mean, because we were talking earlier, and I don't know if Dean got this or not, but it's fine. We're going to talk about it again. You know, families in the community, and you know, we can jump right in like what you're doing in this space on Monday.
Absolutely. So what's the date today? Are we on we're 7th. March 7th, right? So we're in our event space Colectivo. Colectivo in Tagalog, in the native language in the Philippines, means the collective, right? And it really is a community-oriented space. Born from grit, like we were talking about, a need, filling a void. I partnered with some amazing individuals, Ken and TJ from Sunrise, as well as our dear friend Jane Barmore, and another friend of ours who's a creative, Ron. We created this space to just have a place to gather for our community, right? Especially for the AAPI community, which is, you know, obviously very near and dear to my heart. But it's opened up to much grander things. So, like you were mentioning, so on Monday, I believe the bill Food for All is going through. Like it's going to be presented. The hearing is going to be on Monday. And so, in order to show our support, we are gathering whoever and whenever. I'm going to be putting it out there on social media today, but whoever we can gather, chefs, farmers, I mean, people that are directly affected by these things, you know, need to be here and sign testimony. Because right now, especially in the way the state of things are going right now, it is our community, and we hold each other accountable, and let us be the change that we want to see.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So in order for us to do that,
Bingo.
I'm going to hold everyone accountable.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to put it out there, and if you're a friend of mine that has been talking about change and I don't see you here, you're going to get, you know, you're going to get the dad conversation. Because it's exactly that. if you want to see change, be the change.
You change.
And make that effort. It's a small time commitment, nothing crazy. You get free food.
You get free,
delicious food.
delicious free food.
But more so, it's just like in community, and doing this in community, because there are a lot of things that are very scary out there right now. And just like any other child, if you're alone and you're scared, it's terrifying. It builds, right? Yeah. But if you're in community, if you're in a group, that fear can be alleviated and can also sometimes be completely dissipated as long as we're in it together, knowing that we're in it together.
Feeling that support, feeling you got.
Exactly.
Feeling I got.
Yeah, I got your back. That's all it is. Like, I got you. That's it. So that's what we're doing on Monday. It's something big. We're excited about it. And, like I said, I hope my community shows up, and I hope people show up.
That's right.
Yeah, be sure and send us the information.
Absolutely, I will.
Yeah.
I will for sure.
Put it out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And one thing you were talking about earlier too, and we're talking about community, for you growing up in the Philippines, and one household will cook this, and one household will cook this, and sharing that, and everybody having in it. And it's something I saw working, formerly with a French company that you see 3 or 4 generations in the same house and down the block, and everyone, getting into it. We have such a different concept of community in this country that it's those familial, and familial doesn't always have to mean married in our blood, but literally,
who's on the block?
Who's on the block? We're here together,
Think about it back in the day, right? Like
absolutely.
Way, even further back to the stages before. In Europe, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk Europe. Let's talk Asia. The baker.
The baker.
The baker, right? The baker actually was always the central point of the community.
Yeah.
Why? Because he or she had the biggest oven. So after the baker is done breaking bread at the end of the day, what happens?
Yeah.
All the community members bring a pot of stew or whatever and put it in the oven and leave it there overnight. Because that's how you cook, right?
Yeah.
The overnight braising.
Yeah.
Now, after that, the trade happens. It's like, hey, I'm gonna leave the baker a little bit of this if I can take a loaf of bread. It's this barter system, right? You have the greatest green thumb in the world, and you're growing all these vegetables. You're not so great. I raise meat, and you have leather trade skill. What happens between the 3 of us? Like we share the burden of you growing vegetables. I'll give you some protein, and then you give us the tools and the garments that we would need to kind of continue on, right? And I think we've gone so far away from each other over time that we've lost sight of what it truly means to be in community.
Yes.
You'll see a lot of performative stuff nowadays, right? You'll see like, oh, I'm for the people on social media.
Oh yeah.
And then they do nothing about it. And they're the ones who are complaining about something or whatever. If it doesn't suit their own needs. We're such a selfish, individually centric society now that it really is disappointing to see.
And this is not helping.
This doesn't help.
Community is how many followers you have.
Yeah,
Like that.
exactly.
Well, I was just going to say, obviously, I've got 40 or 50 years on you guys.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, so, I can a little bit remember when it was more like that. It wasn't quite to that point, but it was much more like that. But also now, it's like, now I'm on this end of life, I love teenagers. I was a high school English teacher.
Oh, wow.
And now, that they're all
on their phones.
Yeah, so you can call that a community-ish, but are they ever seeing each other, or sharing a meal or whatever?
Yeah, I guess we should add an engaged community.
Engaged
would be a really good word to add on to that. Because, like I said, we could sit in community, but we won't be engaged with each other. Like you said, we could. How many families nowadays, which makes me sad, do you see nowadays that are all on their phone while they're sharing a meal? While you're out, you go out to dine, right? Everybody goes out to eat. You're out to eat, and you see a family of 4, and they're all on their phones. Even the young kid is on their phone,
right?
And you're like, what is going?
Finally
on?
got that, If I got that cocaine reservation or
Yeah,
that con reservation, and there you sit,
Yeah.
like doing this.
Hey, when you get that reservation, let me know.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it makes me sad.
Yep, me too.
Because I remember the days of, coming up in this industry. I would work long hours. I tell this story a lot, and it just hits home every time. When I started in this industry, I didn't expect the hours, right? I didn't know what it entailed, especially my first year, which meant long hours, coming home at 1 in the morning. You're like dead tired. And at the time, I had just moved back from the Philippines, so I was living with my family. 3 grown adult kids and 2 parents, in this tiny house in the suburb of Detroit. And I remember coming home. I'm in my checks.
Oh yeah.
Check pants, of course.
Hi.
Dog tired and starving. I come home, there'd be a plate of food on the table waiting for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the Philippines, they always put the little fly net. And it was my parents' way of making sure that I was still part of it.
Yeah.
The heart's there.
Yeah.
And the funniest part is when I popped that in the microwave to heat up, and that beeping sound of the microwave is so loud, and the house was so small that as I'm heating up my food, I could hear footsteps coming down the stairs, and here comes my mom and dad.
Yeah.
Even at 1 in the morning, just sitting with me just for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Be like, hey, kumusta? Kumusta araw mo? How's your day?
Yeah.
As I'm eating these noodles, and and it's what I miss at the dinner table. Whenever I miss those times, which was a lot over the years, is now made up in those few minutes of interaction. So sitting in community, engaged community,
Precious.
is something that I think a lot of people don't have.
Yeah, and John often has said, eating is a very intimate,
Yeah.
and eating what somebody prepared for you, you're taking that thing and putting, and it's going to it's going to be in your cells,
Yeah.
right, eventually.
Yeah.
And so it's such an intimate thing, and when there's love connected to that,
Oh, it changes it all.
yeah, then that gets into your,
Yeah.
your
And
psyche, and
it's something for me, and seeing that shift in chef world, especially, away from angry chef to,
Compassionate.
compassionate chef. I mean, chef, I say this not enough, chef literally translated as chief, i.e. the coach, and this is what's going on.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, you don't have to yell at people and beat on the things and be that guy. And all
No.
that. How about treat it with love? Because just like, what was the movie that the emotions went into the food? I'm like, emotions going into the food. And Dean back there behind the camera with his chef background and things, it's like, especially when you get out to the farm or you're out to sea and you see that thing and you want to get that, and whether the tweezers come out or not, it's, what is that? But it is one of the most intimate things. The winemaker, the beer maker, the cider, the honey.
Any craft made with heart and passion, I think it can be easily seen, felt, and heard, or whatever sense is used to appreciate that piece. It's felt, right?
And it's something I think that really rings true for what you're doing with your restaurants and what you've done. I'm like, it's like,
Right.
this is a family, and I want people to feel that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's become a marketing thing, just like, the greenwashing of everything and this and that. I'm like, and then you read that one little blurb on somebody and you see that, you Google it, you look on images, and then when you can just get that emotion feeling from random strangers' images, it's like, that's they're there, man. That's that soul there. It's so true,
I can't iterate enough how what you just said. It's very similar to the terminology farm to table. Right? Sadly, you're seeing, from what has originally come from a point of passion and heart for some individuals, is now becoming a marketing tool for others.
Yeah.
Oh, this is my story. This is my background. This is my heritage. I'm just gonna cook this. But to use that very personal thing as a marketing tool
Yeah.
versus being very genuine and passionate about it and letting that speak for itself
Yeah.
Yeah.
is a big difference in my opinion. I've
Yes.
seen a major difference in both of those things. And like I said, sadly, I've seen more and more people move into that realm of like, oh, this is my story. I was like, that's cool, but like, do you really? And then I hear it too, right? I hear the conversation after the camera turned off.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
After the mics are gone, they're like, oh man, ooh, that story, huh? Like blah blah blah. Or I had to come up with that, or I worked on that. I'm like, oh wow, you are very disingenuous. I do not like you,
Right.
you know. And it's just one of those things, you know, where like you said, eating is a very intimate thing. It's a very personal thing. People, and I'm sure in your career, and I'm sure you've been asked this many times, like, oh, you know, I'm so nervous to cook for you. What should I cook for you? It's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I've always said this. I was like, you can make me a box mac and cheese, and
Seriously.
you know, I don't care. As long as you're making it
Yeah.
and with the intention of wanting to feed me, but not wanting to impress me. Like,
Yeah.
it's the sad part. It's like, I'm a chef. Yeah, I've been doing this for 27 years. But at the same time, I'm just like, I just miss somebody cooking for me. And PB&J, right?
I didn't make it.
You know,
Like,
how many
that's-
times have you had that childhood smile on your face when somebody makes you a meal and you're just like, you know what? And it could probably be one of the worst meals technically from a technical standpoint that you've ever had. Could be oversalted, underseasoned, whatever, but you don't care.
Yeah.
No.
Because the flavor at that point isn't in the food, it's in the interaction.
Yeah. It's that energy and that
Yeah.
emotion. Yeah.
There's
for
a
real.
reason why at house parties the kitchen is the center.
Yeah.
People always say
Oh.
the dining room. Nope, it's always the kitchen.
Yeah.
People always like to go to the kitchen and talk, right?
It's true.
Because food is what brings all of us together. It's the universal language, no matter what.
It has been. For me, you follow the spice trade and the spice trail, and you follow those things, and that's how I like to go through history.
Yeah.
You know, the wine world or fermentation world, and then the spice world, and decade or so ago, locking into those. I'm going to say Mediterranean, but those Middle Eastern, North African,
Yeah.
and Eastern Mediterranean things. I'm like, hey, there's nothing wrong with North and all of that, but. We've done good on Spain, Italy, and France.
Yeah.
Like, we got that covered.
Well,
And
it's-
Greece and like some of these other things that. And for me, growing up in the Bay Area,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. You had
that
a lot.
I was just like,
You're exposed to all of it.
yeah, I'm like, oh man. When I first moved to Oregon, I'm gonna say this. You can cut it out if you need to. When I first moved to Oregon, I'm like, I'm scared to death. I've never seen so many white people in my life. I'm gonna
thing.
starve to death.
I actually was asking people, where is everybody?
Yeah.
I'm like,
And then, well, what do you mean?
Where are the ducks hanging in the market?
Yeah.
Like, where's the fish in our newspaper?
But my thing is like, it's the craziest thing to think about, right? Where did you grow up, Deb?
Honey, I was born in Alabama.
Woo! Even better. So in Alabama, coming from that southern culture, right? Think about the roots and the things that you've experienced growing up. Whether it's racially driven, whether it's culturally driven, it doesn't matter. But you think about it. You think about the community. You think of like a good old boucherie down south in New Orleans. I had a dear friend from New Orleans, and he always talked about a boucherie. And I'm like, oh, that sounds so familiar. What's a boucherie? It's like, oh, when you take a whole hog, you break it down. And I was like, oh, that sounds like a regular Saturday night in a Filipino. It's like, but that's the thing. There's so many similarities in
Yes.
cultures, no matter where you're from.
No matter where you're from.
It could be from Alabama, it could be from Detroit, it could be from the Bay Area, but there's going to be a commonality to it all that speaks to all of us.
Yeah.
And same thing, right? It's when I came to Portland, I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
I need flavor.
Yeah.
I grew up in Detroit. So all the things that I grew up with, I grew up in a Polish part of Detroit. That's where I learned to make pierogies, from Polish neighbors. And it was amazing. But like knowing that so it just took a little more digging, right? So, you go out, obviously the 80 Seconds, Fantastic Asian, community, Beaverton, or this, that, also knowing that there's a large Eastern European population here.
Yes, there is.
That's not just your typical run-of-the-mill Eastern European. You like deep dive Eastern European. You're like, oh, this is where I'm going to get these pierogies. This is where I'm going to get this ingredient. This is where I'm going to get my kraut from. This is you start pulling all these different things. And just like anything else in the world, it just takes a little bit of digging in,
yeah.
and you're gonna peel back those layers of onion, and you're gonna find all these cool things. And that's my favorite part about travel.
Yeah, and that's my favorite part about publishing this magazine is getting to go and meet people like yourself, and also being able then to, and farmers and winemakers and whomever is supplying good, clean food. And then we get to talk about it, and then people learn about it, and they realize, well, maybe I need to get a little more, involved in, and not just blindly eat because I've come home and I'm hungry and I'll, whatever, stopping by the Arches or, anyway,
So PC.
Huh?
So PC.
That's the joy I have.
Yeah.
I mean, I really am enjoying that part of being able to go, here you go.
Yeah.
This is where you find this. This is where you find that.
And I think I was telling you earlier, I've worked with the publication, with edible publication in various cities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the story behind it always rings true. As a young cook reading edible, I was like, oh, someday, you're always like, someday I'm going to be in there for the work that I do and things like that. And then when you are featured, it's mind blowing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm part of it. There are some people out there that will be like, oh, it's such a certain percentage of people can only afford this, that, or the other. I'm like, well, it's not that a certain percentage. It's like, you have to understand from an educational standpoint, how many kids have you taught? I'm so curious. How many kids have you taught in your span of lifetime? And if you ever ask them, have they ever dealt with an eggplant? I'm not talking about the emoji.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the real eggplant, right? What's a real tomato taste like?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what a tomato tastes like? 9 times out of 10, they'll only know a tomato in the context of ketchup. And you're like, no, dude. Oh my God, what is like?
You're missing so
You're
much.
missing so much. But that's the biggest problem. Is that there's a part of the people that are like, oh, I'll never be able to afford to go to a farmer's market. I'll never be able to afford the produce that's brought there. Proteins is so expensive. I'll never have the time. I'll never have X, Y, and Z. Now this is where the community comes in, right? This is where the engaged community comes in.
Yeah, there's a big community.
The education of it all,
Yeah.
right? We're going to be starting a series here, hopefully this summer, summer, called Sunday Collective, where individual and everybody's more than welcome to come in, donate what you can, whatever. Say, Sunday, I'm going to make bolognese. I'm going to teach everyone how to make bolognese. Everyone's going to help me make bolognese. We're going to make it all together. Just a big batch of bolognese. We're going to eat together that day, dinner. Maybe I'll show you how to make fresh pasta, give you this skill. And then I'm going to send you home with some bolognese that we made. All right, next Sunday, your turn. Or next Sunday is like, what do you want to see? Oh, I've never broken down a fish before. Done.
Yes.
Let's go buy some salmon.
Yeah.
Boom. Or I've never broken down a pig before.
Yeah.
Boom. I got you. Knowing it's this I think it's the lack of knowledge that creates the fear and intimidation.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I was just reading Julia Child book, My Life in France.
My Life in France.
And she talks in there about how when they were trying to produce the book, that they would send it over to publishers in America and they would say, this is too dense, this has too many little steps,
Yeah.
But that's the way people in France cook.
Yeah.
It is all broken down.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is processes.
Yeah.
And eventually, obviously, as we all know, the book was was printed and has sold, gazillions of copies. But I was real impressed with that they're on a whole different level. I mean, some of our grandmothers may be on that level.
Yeah.
Where they really, and my mother-in-law was, she had a big patch, farm patch, and it had all kinds of different stuff in it.
Yeah.
And she would just go out there and harvest it and then make it and then, invite you for dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and she had little ways that she had to do it.
Absolutely.
But anyway, yeah.
That's my mom. So my mom, unfortunately she sold her house in Detroit, Michigan, downgraded to a smaller apartment, just like a single level apartment, so not a high rise or anything, just like a little apartment, 5 minutes from my sister's house. One thing that she can't do without is planting things, or green thumbs.
Mm-hmm.
So in front of her, it's funny, in front of her apartment, there's, little, not a courtyard per se, but just like a little concrete patch, maybe, say a 6x2 block, blocks. You know what those are filled with? Pots. You know what are in those pots? Oh my gosh. Watermelons, eggplant, squashes, beans, wing beans, seeds she smuggled from the Philippines. Sorry, don't say. No, but like she's growing all these vegetables.
Yeah.
Our house in Michigan, very, very, very humble household, small, tiny house, big backyard. We had a farm, bitter melon, eggplant, wing beans. Gosh, there's a Filipino song that talks about all the ingredients and vegetables in a particular dish. And it's called Bahay Kubo. And literally, she had all the vegetables that they named in it. But that's the thing, though, is that like you were just saying, to me, one of the best cookbooks out there is an old cookbook, French chef Fernand Point, La Pyramide. The book was called Ma Gastronomie. And if you look through these recipes, they weren't 1 cup of this, 2 cups of that. It's like, no, heavy cream, butter, they're guidelines. The act of cooking was written down, right?
Yeah.
And that has been my go-to cookbook for many, many years. And anybody who's worth their weight in salt in the kitchen would read this book and be like, oh man, this guy's like,
Yes.
I mean, are you familiar with Fernand Point at all?
A little
Pyramid,
bit,
a little bit, right?
The book. Yeah.
So La Pyramide, his restaurant in Lyon, every day he would go to the Léa and shop, and every day his larders were completely empty. Like everything was completely empty. They would create the menu based off of what he bought that day and what he shopped for. Imagine doing that now. You would be called crazy.
Absolutely.
And you would probably be lambasted by all the Instagram critics,
Or you would be so unique that, the person who might do that could charge you gazillions of dollars for those meals.
Well, then there's that.
That are unique and thought about to that degree. But not that I don't believe that. I want to be real clear that I say chefs and the people who cook, I mean, they're 100%, there's so much value there. There's so much, talent and all that, of course, and we need to appreciate that and not demean that at all. But, trying to go that route, difficult.
I mean,
Mom's got to work on the script for the show that will be opposite the Bear.
it's okay. It's perfect though. No, but like you were saying, it's just like, yes, we could charge a gazillion dollars for it, but shouldn't that just be the standard?
Yes.
Shouldn't that just be the norm?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yes. Opening a restaurant's hard.
Sure. Okay.
Expensive. It doesn't work out all the time. But if we were to charge what was actually the numbers that, like, for food costs, for labor costs, people wouldn't go out to eat.
They wouldn't.
They wouldn't. So then we
would
wouldn't
not.
have restaurants, right?
Yeah.
Which, that's a whole nother can of worms. But like, I hope people realize this, that when we raise our prices, it's not because we're greedy, because our margins are
Oh God, yes.
Terrible.
Yes.
Terrible.
There are larger margins.
Yeah,
and a piece of paper and a computer.
Yeah.
You know, writing something, the margins are bigger.
But it's one of those things where I hope people will understand that in order for us to be able to continue to support the chain that is commercially serving food,
Yeah.
we have to charge. Because what we find is fair to pay the farmers
Exactly.
will actually hurt us. So in order for us to do that, we have to raise our prices.
Yes.
But then people are so used to,
Mm-hmm.
oh, but it's so much cheaper over there. Oh, I can make this myself.
Right.
I hear this all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Now,
And-
hearing it more right
yeah.
now.
And I'm like, go ahead. Go home. Make that pot of food yourself. Go ahead. Let me see how that goes.
Yeah.
You're doing it one time for one meal for one particular community. We're doing it 50 times every day
Yeah.
Yeah.
for a multitude of people.
Days. Yeah.
I don't know. There's so many. It's such a spider web of nuance that it's hard to pinpoint where exactly the change can be biggest made. But
Yeah.
I just say you gotta start somewhere.
You do.
Yeah.
You do.
Well,
And-
it starts with the love, you know, and it's just, and again, back to education. And that's one thing I love. I'm like you, having grown up with edibles in different places. I've lived up and down the West Coast. And it's like, you know, I wonder if I can be a part of something that gets in
Yeah.
there one day.
Can we be?
I
part of
got
something?
there.
You sure did.
Not quite the way I thought.
You kind of overachieved and went all in. If anything, congratulations.
Damn it.
I overshot.
I overshot. But it was an opportunity to
Yeah.
do exactly this.
Right.
And with Dean coming and offering this digital side to it,
Yeah.
it's like, man, this is a 4 times a year thing, but now we can do these things and have
Yeah.
these conversations that
Fill in the gaps.
fill in the gaps and share it with the people who get it.
Yeah.
Get it, chef.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And the educational,
Oh, absolutely.
the educational component of all of these things. It's not
Imagine, just imagine. So there's a chef on the East Coast. His name is I'm gonna pronounce his last name horribly. Dan Giusti, I believe is his last name. He used to be the head chef at Noma,
Okay.
and obviously everybody who knows the culinary industry, Noma was the #1 restaurant for many years in Copenhagen. He left and went to the East Coast and became what I like to lovingly call the greatest lunch lady to ever live. Right? We've all heard of, Ann Cooper out in Colorado, I believe. She started the whole farm and school project. But Dan is actually placing chefs in institutionalized food.
Wow.
Prisons, hospital systems, schools are his main focus. That's where it starts.
Yes.
Education. I have kids. I have 3 beautiful boys, 2 of which are still in middle school and elementary school. Now, what my one kiddo, the youngest, the middle school kid's like, I love the hamburgers. I was like, oh yeah, that's part of it, right? That's part of it.
Yeah.
But my youngest one's like, they have this amazing program at his school where she's a chef. But he's just like, well, this, that, or the other. I'm like, can we just make the lunch at home? Which is great for me too. I was like, at least I know where your food's coming from. But it just leads me to this greater thought of like, what is missing? Why are our kids so adverse to these home cooked meals in schools? And on the East Coast, what Dan's doing is he's putting chefs in the schools and changing how it's all done. I wish they had a program out here because honestly, I'd ditch the restaurant. I'd work for a school in a minute, in a heartbeat. And I taught at a small school for very, very briefly during the pandemic. I taught culinary. I'm like, man, you kids have 0 clue on what it takes, right? That chicken tender that let's try making a chicken tender together.
Yeah.
And I did it. Butchered a whole chicken, strips, bread it, panko, fry it. That's a better chicken tender than what you're gonna get that's processed.
And they went,
Oh, I didn't know a chicken tasted like that. It's like, because
Exactly.
you're not eating real chicken, you know?
Chicken dinner.
But that's the thing. It's
Yes.
I don't know where to start, but like I said, whether it's through a publication, whether it's through a Sunday community,
Sunday community.
I actually would love to have you guys here for one of those Sundays.
Oh, that would
I'll
be
let you.
fantastic.
I'll let you both definitely know. Or whether it's hosting people to write testimony so that farm workers can have the same rights and
Everybody.
food for all these different
Yeah.
things.
Yes.
I would disagree that you don't know where to start. I think you've started
I think
quite
right here
you know,
today.
yeah.
You heard it first, y'all.
You've got some glimmers of some ways to
Yeah.
break this down,
Yeah.
and you're acting on them.
Yeah, I think, I guess here's the fear part, right? And the
Okay.
daunting part is that, you throw so many things out into the field and what seeds grow are the ones you really want to nourish.
Yes.
But sometimes, you miss a couple of those seeds. And the fear is that by missing some of those things, that, again, either you're spreading yourself too thin, which I've felt many times, especially being a family man myself. My only hope is that my, like I said, my community has got my back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? In all the efforts that we do, like, it's ambitious to do the Sunday collective, right? Sunday supper, if you will. It costs money. Like, a whole hog costs, you can damn near $1,000 right now.
Yeah.
Because I used to be a butcher. I used to love doing charcuterie. Used to do that all in the restaurants that I worked at. But knowing the cost, it's daunting to accept
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, this is going to be cool because now, out of the, say, 20 families that showed up to learn how to butcher a hog, each one of them is going to take home some ground pork, a couple of pork chops, whatever, and they're going to know what to do with it.
Yep. Education.
I'll take the big hits first.
Sure.
That's fine. But the hope is that somewhere down the road, you don't have to take the big hit. That big hit can be dissipated amongst
Yeah.
a much wider surface area, so that it's an easier lift.
Yeah.
So if anything, that's my call to action for
Yeah.
everybody. Help the community, help each other out.
Were you about to?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, and that's part of our own little revolution. And, Mom graduated high school in 1968. So
Near San Francisco.
Near San Francisco.
Wow.
And that's one of the beauties that I have always loved about Portland. And I think especially Portland right now, it reminds me of the city back in the day, moving on up to, I kind of didn't recognize it so much last time I was there, but like, what happened to our rock and roll town? This last bastion of, we do it our own way. I'm like, well, it's Portland, Oregon now.
Yeah.
And here we are
Yeah.
with these exact things,
Yeah.
with these kind of ideas.
Well, now you've got me thinking about something else, but I wanted to give you the opportunities. There's some things about your restaurant you would like to share.
Yeah, we haven't even,
Wait, there's a restaurant?
Yeah.
there's a couple.
There's a couple, yeah. It's funny. So we opened Magna Kusina in 2019, August. Perfect timing.
Yeah.
With the intention to share our love for Filipino food and culture. And, we've managed to survive. We're beginning to thrive, I think, after all the hardships. It's only in the past few years that we actually had a realistic glimpse of what, if we're succeeding or not,
Yeah.
But I share everybody. I welcome everybody to come through the restaurant and share in a meal with us and learn about something maybe you're unfamiliar with or maybe you are familiar with. Like coming from the Bay, you get Filipinos up the wazoo, which is great. But there are people out there that have never had Filipino food, that have never tasted what a lumpia is or know what pancit is or even adobo for that matter. But we're still there, We're not the coolest kids on the block, and
There's some awards shows.
And
There's some of those.
those things are all pomp and circumstance. I always tell people, I love ice cream. All the stuff all the awards, all the accolades, all the recognition. It's all whipped cream and sprinkles and cherries.
Oh, yeah.
And, it makes a great sundae. But I'm also just happy with my scoop of ice cream, which is the restaurant. I'm a simple person, I love my ice cream, and that's it. I don't need anything else. Everything else, cool. Whatever you want to give me, great. But is it gonna change like how I run things, or is it gonna change my personality, or is it gonna change like my attitude toward things? Absolutely not. Dean's known me for years. Dean's known me pre awards and pre everything, and I think it's safe to say that I hope he would say that I'm pretty much the same individual. I haven't changed all that much.
Well, Dean's in trouble because Dean didn't say that. Dean did not say, I've known him, as Dean would say, for donkeys.
Yeah.
He just said, hey, we're going to get in and do this. And, Deb and I were like, all right, sounds like we trust you, mate, and whatever else. But that's awesome. So
yeah, I've known Dean, the talented man behind the camera.
Yes, he is.
Just say hi, Dean.
we keep saying one of these days we're going to
just put him in the hot seat.
Flip that camera around and be like, all right.
Yeah.
No, but it's so cool. The best part about this industry, I think, and is meeting some of the most amazing people along the way.
Yes.
Right? To hear stories
100%.
about whether it's having the little place on the coast, being born in Alabama, or being behind the camera, but being a former Michelin-starred chef.
Right.
Things like that. That's the cool part about it. To me, that's what creates a great dinner party, right? It's the people that you have around the table.
Let's just keep making that table bigger and
Yeah.
bigger
Yeah,
and getting everybody around, man.
Let's keep going around.
Sunday
Collective. Let's do it.
Bingo.
But yeah, the restaurant has been amazing. It's definitely a gift that has been giving me a lot of opportunity to spread the word, the gospel of Filipino food, if you will.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
But also it's helped me connect with so many amazing people that not only have I looked up to, but these young kids that have, which I never thought in my entire life would happen, but these young kids that look up to me. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm in that position.
Yeah.
I'm that old now. It's like, oh, when did that happen? Dang. But it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see that and to be able to connect with these amazing people. Like, you meet chefs that I've looked up to. Sometimes don't meet your heroes. That's a story for another time. But I mean, I think the greatest thing that I ever in my career is I got to meet Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah.
Like twice, actually. Once in Spain, when I was there as a very poor cook, running away from my life for a couple months. And also in a completely different aspect of my life, which is jiu-jitsu. So I practiced the art of Brazilian jiu-jitsu, big martial artist all my years, Filipino martial arts, all these things. But it just so happened before he passed. He came on his book tour here. Do you remember this a couple years ago? He was promoting, I think it was Medium Raw.
Yeah.
Was the book he was promoting?
It could, yeah.
It was it was the second memoir book after Kitchen Confidential. And he walked into my gym. And I was freaking out on the inside.
Yeah.
But I played it cool on the outside. I said, hey, man. It's
for
like,
you.
my name's Carlo.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm Tony. It's like, cool. It's like, I know who you are.
I know.
No, but like, it was really cool to have, those opportunities to know who he is and to have met him and to have shared a conversation with him.
Sure.
That was pretty awesome. So.
His impact.
So tell us how people, not that we don't have to be through, but I would give us the address and tell us how people find you.
Do some promo. Do some self promo.
Really bad at this one.
Yeah.
Come visit us, Magna Kusina, here in Portland, Oregon, of course. 2525 Southeast Clinton Street.
Okay.
Zip code 97202. Follow us on Instagram at Magna PDX. That's MAGNA PDX. You can find us and see what we're up to on any occasion. You can also follow us on Collectivo, at Collectivo, KOLECTIVO, with like an underline thingy at the end. I don't know. Just look for us. We'll be there.
Is the restaurant on the second floor? Excuse my ignorance.
No. The restaurant is actually on the corner of 26th and Clinton.
Oh, just
So
exactly.
Yeah.
it's that way a little.
Yeah.
Oh,
it
so
used
we
to
came
be-
to your.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
our event space.
Okay.
It was quieter, because if we were at Magna, just
Yeah.
Because it's lunchtime.
too much going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a fun little restaurant. We're open for lunch from 11:30 to 1:30, dinner from 5 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday, and we're going to be starting brunch soon at the end of the month. Sunday Filipino brunch.
Oh.
Get your carbs on. But yeah, so that's what we're doing.
My cousin,
was gonna bring that up.
my mom is conservator for my cousin, and she's down in Vallejo.
Oh yeah.
And she lives and stays with a Filipino family,
Yeah.
a Filipino church, and Sunday
Oh,
it's
man.
on. And I overhear her talking to mom, and I'm like,
Oh.
She'll say things like, "We went shopping, and Anne's going to teach me to make," and then
X, Y.
adobo or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
And the way
great.
she goes, and then I'll say, "Well, how was lunch today?" Because they always stop and have a meal.
Yeah,
What are you
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about? And she'll start talking about pancit and lumpia
Yes.
and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, you have no idea how lucky you are, that you're getting to do.
It's a thing though.
Yeah.
It's like it's so
Homemade,
funny.
Yeah.
I always joke around with people. It's like it's always a 6 degrees of separation from the closest Filipino you have. There's a Filipino in your life, you just don't know it.
right.
In some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
It's our greatest export in the Philippines was our hospitality, the people. Nurses. I mean, any hospital system, caretakers, caregivers. We're all we are in it. And it's only now in these later generations, after actually my parents' generations, that we're able to expand outside of the stereotype that is the medical field, hospitality field, and into things like creatives and design and food and all these different
Most
things.
certainly.
Yeah, we're really starting to. I always tell people it's like my mom didn't want to be a nurse. She wanted to be something else, and now she gets to live these dreams through her kids.
Yeah.
So which is pretty cool.
I know last year when we went to the API thing out at Stoller,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
and it was just like,
It's crazy, right?
yeah. I mean, I felt at home. I felt like, oh man,
It's crazy
this
because
is
Lois put that together. I remember the first iteration because it was like 2, maybe 3 years ago. She put on the first Oregon API food and wine thing. She called me she called me in January. She's like, "Hey, I have this. Tell me if I'm crazy. Like, this is crazy idea." I was like, "That's a great idea."
Yeah.
And
So
a few
awesome.
months later, it was a production. It was on.
Yeah.
I was like, "That's amazing."
Yeah.
Can you imagine just like knowing that your vision of anything
Yeah.
can just takes a little bit of grit,
A little bit of grit.
a little bit of grit to
Well,
get there.
and it's that ripple effect and how that
Yeah.
resonates, and like, and it's so true, and the organicness of it, to me, that human factor,
Yeah.
that human, and like, that's how you know when you're on that right wave, that
Yeah.
right wavelength of
Yeah.
the feel, the
Yeah.
energy, and you just know it,
Yeah.
And since then, I have seen some of the wines in stores. Joe, particularly.
Yeah, Cho
Oh,
particularly.
Joe, yeah.
Some of the best. Some of my favorite actually come
They're
around
on
the
it.
valley.
Mm-hmm.
They're on it. They're look, some people will say, "Oh, it's because you're X, Y, and Z." Nah. That just again, whipped cream, cherries, sprinkles, all
Sure.
that stuff. That the heart of what they do is there. And the fact that you can that they are able to, like her and her husband, amazing people.
Yeah.
Lois and Dave, two of my favorite people here in Portland. And the amount of love, effort, and care that they put into their product is shown, it's seen, it's
Yes.
tasted, it's there.
It's there.
And not a lot of people can do that anymore. On a scale that they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's tough out there. We know, I mean, restaurant life, we know that, obviously the wine and beer and cider folks are,
Oh, yeah.
it's
Young
tough,
people
it's tough going out
Aren't
there.
learning how to appreciate wine,
Yeah.
And there's trends and things kind of come and go a little bit depending on who's got the followers on the gram or whatever it may be.
That makes me sad, but yeah.
But they're there in the grit and the soul.
Yeah.
and that family and that community.
Yeah.
It's bulletproof in times.
Yeah.
Like,
And
it's
that-
just
Like technology comes and goes, you know.
Yeah.
You know, someday a giant something's gonna happen, and all technology is gonna be gone. And next thing you know, you're asking the guy next door, "Hey, how do you skin a raccoon?"
Exactly.
You know,
we're back
That
to the
book has
baker.
been published, right?
Oh yeah.
We're back to the baker.
Yeah.
And the, you know, it's
Yeah.
like we're back to.
Well, and that brings me to the other thing too. It's like everybody's so afraid of what's unfamiliar, not realizing that survival,
Yeah,
right?
good point.
I've been very fortunate to have been deeply connected with the Lao community in Michigan. And I have a dear friend, Ton. I went over to his house one day, and he cooked a fantastic Lao meal. The protein was very unfamiliar to me. I was like, "What is this?" He goes, "Oh, it's squirrel." I was like, "What? We're eating squirrel?" He's like, "Yeah," because avid hunters, right? They go up north, they hunt rabbit, squirrel, raccoon, rabbit, deer, venison, all that stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, well, it's not so much unfamiliar than growing up in the Philippines and eating what we had to eat, like using the entire pig, not just the meat, head, ears, snout, trotters, intestines, blood, lungs, spleen, all these things. We've gone so far from that too.
Yeah.
That you're just like, oh man, people are freaked out. They get freaked out by the simplest ingredient. I have people that get freaked out with when I leave the head on the fish. The eyeballs staring at it, it's like the fried eyeballs like this,
Pale.
Yeah. But I'm like, come on guys, that's the best part. Like,
Yeah. People don't, it's like, and the whole animal, just like the whole vegetable, because people could only afford so much.
Yeah.
So it's like this is how we have pate and all these other
Right.
things.
yeah, how do you think we came to
This,
this?
this whole idea of awful.
I mean, that was the best part about Julia Child's book. She never shied away from any of that,
Do it.
Yeah, like, where do you think the art of sausage making came from? What is a pork bung?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you ever had culatello? Let me tell you what that's made from. It's like, but that's the thing though. It's like people are so far removed from the source that it's important for the publication like this, like Edible, to be a part of the conversation. It's because it brings you back to the source.
Yeah,
Brings you back to where it's showing you where these things come from.
It's interesting you say that, and Mom may jump into a book that she read. We're trying to get this author to come out, and it's just about big farm and big ag, and just the taking away of the chickens and the cows never seeing the light of day or blade of grass and not getting it. It's all that. But I learned this. I learned this little way of thinking, or move, if you will, through the Surfrider guys, and it's like kind of like you said, like you don't have to go out in daddy mode and wave your big finger of like, don't do this, or you screwed up, or whatever. It's here's how we can, and let's have fun on the way. Like let's don't make people feel bad, scared, intimidated. Like let's just take that all right off the table. Let's have joy. Like want this conversation about what we can do and where we can go, and much like what's done's done.
Yeah.
Okay, now throw in the DJ and let's have a good time and let's talk about it and get some film up or do something, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Get out of the classroom situation, and
that's where it goes back to.
And sharing that is key, man.
Yeah. It's funny. It was
Fish with a head on.
with fish with the head on. My old mentor, Paul Veron, who I worked for, talked about the canning thing. Put it on a shirt. And it translates to a lot of other aspects of life. It may be hard to get to that translation for some people, but on the shirt it said, eat what you can what you can't. Right?
Yeah.
And that's it. That's exactly what it is. It's like we live in a world of excess. We live in a world where everything is accessible to your fingertips. Whether it's food through all these delivery systems, or whether it's technology, information highway, everything. But we live in a world of excess, and we need to pare that down and recognize and realize when to cut that off. When enough is enough, and whatever is left over can be utilized to do something better. So eat what you can what you can. Save what you don't is not necessary.
Yeah.
Right? Like Bruce Lee, The Art of Jeet Kune Do, his philosophy was he would take what was useful to him and discard what was not. Not to say that what wasn't useful for him won't be useful to you, right? Adapt. Be like water, he always said. Be like water.
Be like water.
Just
Absolutely.
water.
And ages and stages, and you don't know what that means at whatever aspect of your life.
Well, you don't need to.
And embrace the change.
Yeah.
And fear is good. You know, it's okay. Like that's how we get. That's how you get to the spot.
Yeah.
And
That's
it
how you
is the
get-
journey, y'all. It's not. It's not the destination.
Oh.
It is the journey, y'all.
Yeah.
Like,
Sometimes that journey's rough.
oh, right, man.
But that's
No
okay.
doubt. No doubt. I mean, you know, don't even get me started down that. But yeah, understand that you're learning something
Yeah.
when it's hard, and be open to whatever that lesson is.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Education doesn't stop. It's a perpetual standing thing. You learn from an experience. From stubbing your toe, you'll never, you'll learn not to walk in that direction again.
Right.
You know, or from meeting an individual with differing ideologies. You know, if you're yelling at each other, there's no point. You're not no one's gonna hear each other. But if you learn from each other, then maybe this world might be a little bit of a better place. But you know, that's big dreamer stuff. But you know, I think it can start with everybody. It can start with the person. It can start with us. It can start with with the person that's standing across from you. It could be your neighbor. It could be whoever.
Absolutely.
You know,
Go for it, Mom.
if we ever spend some more time with each other, we're
we
in trouble.
will. Yeah. Oh, that's gonna be good. Good trouble. Paint this town red. You and I. You drive though. I cannot.
I had to do some stuff over on the west side today, and I was walking down the street, and a person kind of passed quickly in front of me, and I said, "Oh, good morning."
Yeah.
And it was the first time in over a year, that somebody did not respond.
Right.
You know, and because I just treat everybody like, you know, and it made me sad because I thought, oh, you're missing. That's what you're missing.
Maybe they had their thingies in.
No, it doesn't matter though. Like, well, that's part of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's the I'm just gonna be my own person. You know, I'm gonna do my thing.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I were talking about this the other day. My kids we live in North Portland. My kids, there's a big, beautiful school right across the street from us, so that's a big field. Kids were out playing. My wife was sitting on the stoop, on the good old steps of the porch, you know, and she was just hanging out. You know, she's just watching the kids, and this couple walks by. What would you do?
Yeah.
Good morning,
Yeah.
right? Or hello, good afternoon. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Do that. You usually get a response. Sad that nobody does it. They didn't. They just kept walking.
Yeah.
Not even a wave. Not even a nod. Not even a recognition that there is another human being in their direct vicinity. That's honestly what I've noticed a lot about Portland. Right? It's that. You know, because when I grew up in the Midwest, I met my wife in Chicago. Chicago and Detroit, they're kind of gritty in their own right. But the one thing that I do love and miss is the Midwest. The Midwest feel.
Wow.
Because you know what it is? It's the Midwest hospitality. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter where you are. You give a nod, there's going to be someone who's like, good morning. Hey, how's it going? I was like, hey, how's it going? It's like, how you doing? Just keep walking. Not saying that you're going to have a full-on conversation. You don't need to.
Yeah.
But it's that. Oh, good morning. Good morning to you too. All right. Boop, boop, boop.
Yeah.
On your way.
And both of you
People
get
are
a
a
little.
Yeah, you get a
People are
little something.
challenged or taken back now. And you're like, hey, what's up? Or, I'll hold a door for someone. Or, this or that.
How many times have I held a door and not even gotten a thank you?
Yeah.
How many times have you opened the door and somebody recognized that you were there? How many times have people just blown past you? You know, everybody's going through something in their life. Why not ease the burden a little bit by just sharing in a little bit of humanity? Yeah, that's the way I look at it.
Right.
Not everybody has that same philosophy, but that's okay. It's just, I don't know. Simple good morning is enough to recognize that there is another human being, human to human interaction, and that we are part of a larger community. And that engagement's important.
Right.
I don't know.
comes up back to what you were
Good
saying in the
morning,
beginning.
here's some
Yeah.
lumpia.
Yeah. Oh man, how many friends would I make?
Yeah.
You'll get a response then.
Yeah. Hi, are you hungry? Would you like to eat for free? I got you. Yeah, that's interesting.
Anything else you want to say? Anything else you
Yeah,
want to say,
anything-
Amanda? We're running along on this one. I mean, Dean's over there staring at the ground and not even watching not even watching time anymore.
No, I was just going to say, I'm sure that you have tons of stuff to do. It's a work day for you. But
It is.
I certainly appreciate this conversation
Me too.
and being able to share with viewers and to get to know you.
Yeah,
So
thank you. Well, thank you guys. I mean, thank you for reviving this. This is
Yeah.
important. This right here. This is it. This is what it's about. The hands that hold.
Yeah.
Right. The hands that feed.
Yep.
I fell in love with that picture right out of the gate. I'm like, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
That's it.
It really
That
is.
says so much.
It really does.
Thank you, Chef.
Of course.
Oh,
Anytime.
man.
Thank you so much.
I want to get back together about some of the other things. Too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's do this again.
Absolutely.
And
Anytime.
dig into some of this, and and let us use our vehicles and platforms to help get some of this out there.
Absolutely.
And the things that going on with you, involved in the Sunday Collectivo. I'm like, that's our jam.
Yeah.
That's our thing.
Amen.
And so just thank you, Deb. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you, Dean.
All the stuff.
Yay, Dean.
Yeah, y'all. We'll get the camera on Dean here soon. We'll make it happen.
Someone's got to interview. I'll interview him.
Oh, that would be cool.
get you in the hot seat. All right. Well, thank you so much for y'all. I greatly appreciate the conversation.
This has been great. This is a great one. All right, we'll see you guys out there. It is March 7th, 2025. The 1-year anniversary issue will be out in just a couple of weeks.
Congratulations again.
This podcast will be up in a couple of weeks. And, hit us up. Hit up go to Magna, get to the Collectivo, get to all the things, and get out there and be a community and create that and be that. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace and water, y'all. See you out there. Cool.
Awesome. Oh man, it's good to see these again around town.
Well,
It
thank
really
you.
is nice. I love it. See all this stuff. I remember
sorry,
reading all the
sorry.
publications, right?
Yeah.
Star Chefs, the edible magazines, Food and Wine, all of them. And to see them, to see them thrive. Like I love surviving.
Well, I wouldn't say we're playing.
Hey, you know what?
But